Welcome back to another video, guys. This is Eli coming back at you with another video on the Super Duper Football Show. Today we're going to be projecting every quarterback's NFL stats for 2021. Um, Unfortunately, I wasn't able to record this before the season started. Week one, we saw a bunch of interesting games. I um, do, if I do say so myself. Especially the Monday night game. I think y'all saw that. It was such a crazy ending. Probably, arguably one of the best games I've ever seen, if not the best. So we're going to be projecting 2021 quarterback stats this today after week one, post week one. Andy Dalton is up first. Uh, well, the stats look so low because well, by the way, 1,000 yards, 6 TDs, 3 interceptions. I think he's just gonna play like four through week 4 or 5, and he's gonna get replaced. Week 4 at max. I mean, he looked fine against the Rams, but he's Andy Dalton. He needs to be replaced. You know what I mean? Like he's just a bridge quarterback. His stats are so low though because of this man, Justin Fields. See the note there, takes over after a week 4 or 5. I think that's what's going to happen ultimately. Uh, Deciding who's going to be at the helm for the Chicago Bears down the line. 2950, I'm sorry, 2,950 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions is my projection for Justin Fields. Please take into account that this is after 4 or 5 weeks, so they might be a little bit lower than what you expect. If he played the entire year, I'd probably have about 33 to 3,400 yards, maybe about 28 to 30 touchdowns, and uh, a little bit more picks. Next up, Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals, of course. I predict him to have a really, really awesome year this year. He's going to have such a bounce back year, in my opinion. 4,050 yards. I just went by either the nearest 100 or 50th, so there's no real exact numbers in this projection video. By the way, just informing you right now. 4,050 yards, 31 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. I think that once he starts to build more and more chemistry with his three talented receivers, uh, I think that touchdowns amount will go quite a bit up. Uh, up to the upper 30s probably, maybe even in the 40s in his prime, like as he starts to develop himself. So I think that's Joe Burrow's prime for quite a year. Josh Allen, of course, we saw the Bills' not so great performance in Week 1, but that doesn't hinder me from saying that he'll have a very, very great year, replicating what he did last year. 4,550 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 9 picks is my prediction. The picks could be even lower than what I projected. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I think might happen. Teddy Bridgewater for the Denver Broncos starting quarterback. He looked great against the Giants last week. He looked smart. He was delivering to the right place, and he was doing it well. 3,300 yards. I think that touchdown amount could be a little bit higher actually. Uh, I The funny thing is I made this list before week 1, and I'm recording it after week 1. So this one, I think I agree with the yards, so 3,300, maybe a little bit more. 22 touchdowns. I think he'll have 25 or more. I don't think he'll have less touchdowns than Justin Fields. And 9 picks, I think. That's reasonable. That's a pretty good year, actually. Baker Mayfield is up next. Obviously, it's a run-heavy offense, but again, that doesn't stop me from saying that Baker Mayfield will have quite a year. Once again, 3,850 yards, 34 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions on the year is my projection. I think they're gonna they're gonna pound the rock with Nick Chubb. Uh, Occasionally use Kareem Hunt as a nice change of pace back with his elusiveness and his receiving skills. Nick Chubb, though, I think is the primary guy there. So this is my stat prediction for Mayfield. Got quite a bit of weapons there with OBJ. You have Jarvis Landry. You have Rashard Higgins. Even you have Donovan Peoples Jones if he can start to develop a little bit more. So it's a pretty good situation down there in Cleveland. Sam Darnold is up next. I don't anticipate him to have such a breakout year that people start to regard him as such a great quarterback. But I think he'll have a bounce back here compared to his previous years, with 2,900 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 11 picks. That's really good for a third-year quarterback that has been in a bad situation, in a bad team, uh, in a new year, entering with a new team, with a whole new playbook to learn. I think this is a reasonable stat line for somebody that's in that situation. He does have DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson as well. Notable targets there. Mac Jones, uh, starting quarterback for New England. Rookie quarterback, 2,750 yards, 226 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. I ramped up the interceptions just a little bit for Mac Jones. I definitely do think he's the most NFL ready quarterback of of all the rookie quarterbacks of this draft class of this year. I think he'll have a decent year with the Patriots. 26 touchdowns, not even bad for a rookie. 2,750 yards, it could be a little bit higher, but it's not terrible. I mean, he really only has Nelson Aguilar, Hunter Henry, Jonathan Smith, and they're just like Nelson Aguilar is kind of average to above average, but he's a little bit inconsistent. And Jonathan Smith is pretty consistent. Well, last year he started to dip off at the end of the year, and Hunter Henry is pretty consistent, I'd say. So he's got some reliable options, I think. Of course, Tom Brady, the 22-year veteran in the NFL. I just can't believe he was drafted in 1999. It's just actually insane. So, and he won a Super Bowl at age 43. That just has to be a record. I don't think it is. Maybe George Halas won a Super Bowl when he was older. If he did, then correct me on that. But yeah, 45, 4,550 yards, 46 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions is my a great projection for Tom Brady this year. um, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have the easiest schedule among all teams. That seems a little bit unfair, but I guess that it's not really planned. I guess so. Tom Brady should go off again. Uh, you know, disregarding any hurdles he might have to encounter, injuries and such. Yeah. Uh, Up next, Kyler Murray, 4,050 yards, 33 touchdowns, 11 picks. I still think Kyler Murray will have a pretty good run game going with himself. But I think he'll start to, learn where to pass more, take a little bit more deep shots, and when he doesn't have anything open, learn to be smart with the ball and either run conservatively or make the right decision. Uh, he has, of course, one of, if not the best receiver in the NFL, DeAndre Hopkins. He has AJ Green. He even has Christian Kirk, and he has Rondell Moore. So that's a lot of options you got there, Kyler. So I think he'll have a pretty good year this season. Quite a bounce back from previous years, passing wise, that is. Justin Herbert is up next. This is the most specific stat line I had, but I think he'll pass for so many passing yards, and he'll. I believe he had 31 touchdowns last year, so I think he'll bump that up to 35 this year. Throwing 10 interceptions. I mean, not bad. It could be lower, but I think the Chargers will be like quite a contender actually this year. Uh, even though they have some tough people in their division. 4,390 yards, basically 4,400 yards, 35 TDs, and 10 interceptions is my projection for Herbert this year. Patrick Mahomes, you can argue that he's the best player in the league. And his stat projection, at least my stat projection for him, says the same. 4,750 yards, 45 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Hill, Kelsey, even Hardman is not like that bad actually, and he's able to he's pretty mobile. Like he's not as mobile as some guys like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, uh, but his pocket mobility is quite quite praisable. I think he'll go off again as always. Carson Wentz was an interesting situation for me. I just didn't know what to put for him. Uh, he's in such an awkward situation where his top target, I believe, is Michael Pittman, uh, who isn't bad, but I mean he's not the best option. Michael Pittman, I think Mo Alley Cox. You got Jack Doyle. That's like meh. T.Y. Hilton, of course, is on the IR. I think he's out for the year. Their defense is stifling. It's insane. It's good, but their offense, I don't know about it. Jonathan Taylor is probably their best player on offense right now. Uh, so I projected 3,600 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 8 picks. I think he'll be more smarter with the ball, especially pairing back up with Frank Reich, his former offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. So I think he'll definitely, at least advance from what monstrosity of a year he had last year. Ryan Fitzpatrick, of course, he's out for like 4 to 6, maybe even 8 weeks. They're saying in some reports. In either, in any situation, in any circumstance, he's on the IR. So he'll have to be out for like at least 4 weeks. But when he comes back, he'll still have what? So if he's out on week 1, he'll say he misses max 8 weeks. So say he comes back in week 10, he still has 7 weeks to operate. So this is why I gave him a little bit of some good stats. 2,800 yards, 28 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. 12 interceptions because he's going to be firing that ball downfield quite a bit. I would assume. Taylor Heineke next because he's injured. They need somebody to fill in while he's absent. I mean, I don't have him having the best, however many game stretch Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be out. 1,250 yards, 12 picks, 12 touchdowns, and 7 picks. Throughout a 4 to 7 game span. I think that's reasonable actually, because you're throwing 1,250 divided by 7, like about like 100 passing yards per game. No, it's much more than that. Yeah, it's about 150 per game. So, this is Taylor Heineke. We saw his heroics in the wild card, of course, last year against Tampa Bay, the eventual Super Bowl champion. But I mean, I don't believe it's a fluke, but I just don't think he can do as good as he did that night. If he does, then I stand corrected. But this is my projection for Taylor Heineke for however many games Fitzpatrick is going. Jameis Winston had an incredible outing over like in week 1 against the Packers. Just absolutely obliterated the Packers, trounced them. Jameis Winston had like almost 30 fantasy points that day. Can't forget. 3,900 yards, 38 touchdowns, and 19 interceptions is my projection. That famous Jameis is obviously famous for his interceptions. as I think y'all know that he threw 30 picks in 1 year, but he had 5,000 yards that season though. But anyways, I think he'll start to dial down on the picks as he plays even more with the Saints, starts to get to know the team better. This interception total could be lower. I could probably make it 13, 14. I can't make it less than 10. He's still going to throw picks. I mean, this is Jameis Winston, man. Uh, Based on what we've seen in the past, uh, I'm just judging by what we've seen in the past. So many passing yards, like quite a bit of touchdowns, and quite a bit of interceptions. So, yeah. Tua Tagovailoa, 3,450 yards, 31 touchdowns, 13 picks. I think this is a resurgence opportunity for Tua Tagovailoa this year. Uh, I've seen most of my friends say they don't believe in him, uh, but I think there's still some spark left. He got the win, you know, in Week 1 against the Patriots. It was only a 1 point win, but he looked fresh. Had a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown. Did have a pick, but I believe he'll fix those mistakes as the season goes on. If he can prove himself this year, then just look out for the coming years. Tua is going to be like make his presence heard, make his presence felt. That's what's going to happen. Jalen Hurts with the Eagles is next. Of course, had a really good outing against the Falcons in Week 1. 3,100 yards, 28 touchdowns, 11 picks is my projection for him this year. His first year as really a bona fide starter in Philadelphia. And I think this is a good point to start with for Jalen Hurts, based on what we've seen from Week 1, of course. I think he could exceed these expectations. But this is like the basis of what I think he might do this year. Matt Ryan, he always throws for so many yards. Of course, they had Julio Jones all those years, but now they have Ridley and Pitts. Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley, quite a duo there. Other than that, not much. Russell Gage is there, but he's just decent. Uh, I project 4,300 yards from Matt Ryan, 36 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. He's going to do what he always does, throw a lot of yards, even without Julio Jones. Calvin Ridley is legit, man. Calvin Ridley is the real deal. Uh, I mean, the Falcons' offense, of course, couldn't get going against the Eagles in Week 1. As we saw, they lost 32-6, but uh, that should completely change in the coming weeks, is my expectation. 36 touchdowns and 11 picks is my TDINT projection. Jimmy Garoppolo, again, an Andy Dalton situation here. 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That's like really close to what I projected for Dalton. I think the touchdowns and the interceptions are the exact same, and the yards are a little bit more, I think. More or less, I don't know. But yeah, well, that is, of course, because the next man on the list, Trey Lance. I said he takes over after week 5 or 6. I do think Jimmy Garoppolo will play a little more longer until Trey Lance takes over than Andy Dalton plays until Justin Fields takes over. Merely because Andy Dalton. I mean, nobody is anticipating him. Nobody has the excitement to want to watch him play. Arguably. Meanwhile, Justin Fields, is a budding star, rookie out of Ohio State. Everybody wants to see the rookie play. Everybody wants to see what they got with their franchise quarterback, what their future looks like. Trey Lance, 2,300 yards, 18 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, in a what would be a 11 or 12 game span. It would be an 11 game span. With if Jimmy G was benched in week 6, which I think he will be. Yeah, We saw the quarterback rotation, of course, at Detroit in Week 1 with Trey Lance and Jimmy G. Anyways, Ryan Tannehill's up next. I have him throwing for exactly 4,000 yards. That's not going to happen. I mean, there's going to be some fluctuation in the numbers. But yeah, I tried to keep it simple here. 4,000 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Their offense look brutal against the Cardinals. I think the problem is with the Titans, they just have so much talent on their team that they don't know what to do with it. Julio Jones, AJ Brown, Derrick Henry, uh, Ryan Tannehill as well. Uh, there's just too. It almost seems like there's too much talent on that team. But I think a couple of weeks down the line, they'll find their mojo and they'll start to dominate. 4,000 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions is my projection for Tannehill. Kirk Cousins, one of the most like smart quarterbacks I've ever seen. Uh, he rarely makes mistakes. Kirk Cousins, I have never really seen him make a dumb decision. Maybe he's made a couple, but he's really smart with the ball. He knows what to do when he when he snapped the ball. Uh, he surveys the field. He knows who to throw to. He he accounts himself responsible. He makes himself accountable if he makes a mistake. So I think Kirk Cousins is quite a intelligent quarterback. 4,050 yards, pretty accurate, I'd say. 38 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. He usually throws for about in the high 3,000s for yards. But no, I think he'll have a 4K season this year with 38 touchdowns and only 8 interceptions. Daniel Jones, somebody who's yet to prove himself much. 3,000 yards, which might even be too much. That might even be a bigger projection than what he has. 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He might throw less touchdowns and more interceptions. He might throw more touchdowns and less interceptions. It's hard to guess with Daniel Jones. Like, most people have just given up hope on Daniel Jones. Uh, but I do believe that if he can just a couple games, if he can play a couple games without making any dumb mistakes, and show that he can resiliently move in the pocket and survey the field, deliver to the right man, or just run with the ball when you need to. He's got pocket mobility. He's pretty fast. So we still need to see a lot more of what Daniel Jones can do. Trevor Lawrence is up next, rookie quarterback for Jacksonville. I have him having a great season. Of course, he's the most hyped quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. 3,600 yards, 31 touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions. He has quite a solid receiving core over there in Jacksonville. DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault Jr., and even Marvin Jones Jr. Uh, I just realized all 3 of the Jacksonville receivers are juniors. Something to note there. Trevor Lawrence, anyway, will start to gain more and more experience throughout the year. Of course, that 31, I tried to tie Justin Herbert's passing touchdowns last season as a rookie. I think he'll tie the record, of course, by Justin Herbert at 31. I don't think he'll go past that, but 31 seems like quite a good start for a rookie quarterback. Zach Wilson, on the other hand, playing for the Jets, his best receiving option is Corey Davis, which not optimal. But I'm not saying Corey Davis is like trash either. So 3,250 yards. That might be an overstatement, honestly. 28 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. Zach Wilson, he'll start off rough, obviously. Rookie quarterback, almost no threats, no receiving threats, almost, except for Corey Davis, who's like just decent. and they lost their best offensive lineman, left tackle Mekhi Becton, uh, to for like some weeks. I think he's on the IR. Uh, Zach Wilson will have a rocky start to his career, but he should bounce back next year. I think next year and the years coming, watch out for Zach Wilson. Is all I can say. Jared Goff, of course, huge blockbuster trade in the offseason. Uh, Jared Goff and like 3 first-round picks, I believe, for Matthew Stafford and another pick. Uh, my projection is 3,250 yards, only 26 touchdowns though, and 13 interceptions. I think you'll have a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio this year, uh, on the dot. He had a fantastic outing against the Niners, which in Week 1 that is, which surprised me because the Niners defense, you know how good they are when they are healthy. You know how good they performed against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl a couple years ago when they were all healthy. The the best off-ball linebacker in football, Fred Warner, one of the best pass rushers when healthy, Nick Bosa. Um, Jason Verrett, if he avoided injuries in his career, he would have been like just elite. He would have been a beast. Unfortunately, injuries plagued Verrett. Uh, but 49ers have a defense that is something else when healthy. Yet they gave up 33 points to the Lions. So Jared Goff shouldn't have a bad year. His best receiving option is probably T.J. Hawkinson. Second is Tyrell Williams. Uh, DeAndre Swift is there, I guess. Jamal Williams is there, I guess. Jamal Williams serves as a little bit of a James White role, maybe like a J.D. McKissick role, that type of thing. Like a backup running back that serves as a receiving back. Aaron Rodgers had a terrible outing in Week 1, and he knows that he has to fix that, and he'll be happy with his performance in Week 2 because he faces the atrocious Lions defense. He's going to throw for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns. Probably no picks. This season, however, 4,550 yards, 44 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Not quite as good as last year, but he should be still elite. He's just one of those guys that doesn't regress normally with age. So he'll continue to perform at an elite level. Derek Carr, one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. 4,200 yards, 30 touchdowns, 10 picks. Henry Ruggs and Bryan Edwards will have to take up like a bigger role this year with Nelson Aguilar leaving to New England. Darren Waller is their best receiving option. They have Kenyon Drake for short passes, but I think Derek Carr will start heaving the ball downfield a little bit more with Henry Ruggs' speed and Darren Waller's athleticism. Those combined should make for a pretty good year for the Raiders, although I don't expect them to be good. Matt Stafford, 4,300 yards, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He has quite a receiving duo there in Los Angeles with Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. I don't know what much more you could want. He'll have a lot of yards. Cooper Kupp will go off. Woods will probably go off too. Tyler Higbee will reinstate his case as a top 15, maybe even top 10 tight end in the NFL. So that's how I see the Rams season going this year for Matthew Stafford. Russell Wilson for the Seahawks. He's going to throw for 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. You know how explosive that offense is. You know how explosive it's been for almost the past decade. Ever since Russell Wilson came into Seattle, he's changed the course of the franchise. They were just so-so before him. Now they've been elite for almost a decade. They now have DK Metcalf. They have Tyler Lockett. That's, again, a great receiving duo. He should have a year just like all the other ones. Big Ben should go down a little bit more. Although his stats don't say that, his projected stats for me, that is, 3,950 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. I mean, he's going to be launching it, I believe, downfield. When he's not, it's going to be medium passes. Short passes are going to be a novelty with the Steelers' passing game this season. Chase Claypool going to get involved. Deontay going to get involved. Juju Smith-Schuster, I don't know about him. I don't think anybody likes him right now. Eric Ebron isn't even a bad option, although he should be more consistent. So I think Big Ben is going to have is going to prove everybody wrong and say that he's still not going away at age 39. Older than Aaron Rodgers, that is, too. Tyrod Taylor. The case with Tyrod Taylor is that anywhere he went, he's never had the chance to prove what he can do. Sure, he's played a couple games. Sure, he's messed up a couple times. But he's just been replaced. In Buffalo, he's been replaced by Josh Allen. In Cleveland, Baker Mayfield replaced him. In Los Angeles, Justin Herbert replaced him. Now he's with the Texans. He gets to start this season for the Texans. And guess what? He was good. He was good in week 1. Tyrod Taylor plays good when he starts. He's just never gotten the opportunity. 2,750 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. Not the most ideal year, honestly, for a quarterback. But, he's been snubbed of an opportunity so many times. It's just unfortunate for him, at least. So this is my projected stat line for him. And the final quarterback on this list, Lamar Jackson. I think they'll involve the passing game more handoffs, more short passes, more passes in general. You know what I mean? Just more passes. Lamar Jackson should still have a great running attack, but he should throw for, in my mind, based on the projection, 3,600 yards, 34 touchdowns, and 11 picks, around that range. If they don't pass more, then they're not going to succeed. That's my proclamation right there. Only run with Lamar Jackson, you're not going to succeed. Run with Lamar, hand off, and pass, you're going to succeed. In my mind, that's what I believe. That is my official 2021 quarterback projections for the statistics. I hope you really enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and peace out, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day. See you in the next one.